everyone, my name's Kayla. These are my audience members, Morgan, Amber, and Kenzie. And this is my commemorative speech. A quote from Elite Daily by Rachel Chapman stated, "A grandparent is a little bit parent, a little bit teacher, and a little bit best friend." I found this quote on a blog today to share with you my love and remembrance of my grandfather, Rusty. I decided to talk about my grandpa in my commemorative speech because he had had the biggest impact in my life, being a huge role model for everything I do. When he passed away in 2016, it was heartbreaking. My grandpa had COPD because of smoking and being a blacksmith when he was a kid. So he wasn't really able to do many of the activities he would have liked to with us grandchildren. When I found out, I was very sad he wasn't able to do these things, but he always found a way to make the best of every moment. My grandpa was the most genuine man I have ever met in my life. Grandpa Rusty taught me to do many things in my life, such as baking, driving, and living life to the fullest. My grandpa wasn't much of a baker, more me and my grandma, but the one thing me and him did bake together was cinnamon bread. This is the one thing that really made me fall in love with baking. Being that my grandpa wasn't much of a baker, cinnamon bread was the only thing me and him would make. Me and my grandpa prepared it slow and took all day to finish. We would pick a day during the week, every few weeks, to make the bread because it was so time consuming. It takes a while to prep because you have to let it rise until the dough looks puffy. After it rose, we would mix the cinnamon in it, let it rise again, and then lastly, you would bake it. Between the baking, me and my grandpa would play card games. This was great bonding time for us. Now, every time that I bake, when I have a break time, I play games with my mom or dad or whoever I'm baking with. Baking cinnamon bread was more than just baking for me. This was a chance for me and my grandpa to grow closer. I always thought of my grandpa as my best friend, and doing these little things proved that, and I just enjoyed every second of it. The other thing me and my grandpa bonded over was driving. It may sound simple, but I remember driving with him more clearly than many of my other memories. One day I was up at my grandparents' trailer up in Lincoln, Minnesota, and we used golf carts to travel around the campsite. Well, my grandpa thought it would be a good idea to let me drive around the golf cart, given I was about 6 or 7 years old. I was going really slow, then all of a sudden I got a little lead foot and sped up and I almost crashed it. It was actually really funny because then he took the wheel and steered us out of the way before we hit a tree. We didn't roll or anything, so it was all good. It actually turned out to be really scary, but something I will never forget. A little funny as well. Being that I almost crashed, I was a little scared to get on the golf cart again. But my grandpa talked to me afterwards and told me what I should have done to fix it and helped out a little bit. His wise words to me was very reassuring. This also taught me to listen to what my grandpa has to say, and grandparents always have wise words for you. Also, a little common sense to not run into trees. The last thing my grandpa has taught me is to always live your life to the fullest. As I stated earlier, my grandpa had COPD for most of his life and wasn't able to do the things he wanted to. Even with this illness, he found a way to come to most of my softball games. My grandpa always wanted to come and support me at my softball games, and he went to all that he could with the ones that were closer to his house. He supported me more than I could have asked for him, and that proves that he tried very hard to not let his condition affect him. My grandpa had a positive attitude even with the struggles of his disease. The longer time went on, the harder it was for him to leave the house. After that, we spent time in the house and talked about his coin collection and his times in the Navy and traveling abroad. He stayed busy and still found things to do, even if he wasn't able to leave the house. I chose to commemorate my grandfather because I loved him dearly and he had a very strong impact in my life. Near the end of my grandfather's passing, there is one memory that always sticks out more than others. At our last Thanksgiving together, my grandpa liked to sit in the living room and eat because it was easy for him, while everyone else stayed in the kitchen and ate themselves. I always decided to eat with him in the living room, so I sat on the floor and we would talk and visit. It was awesome bonding time, and truly it was my favorite part of being with my grandpa. That trumped the golf cart incident and the baking the cinnamon bread. Obviously, a few of the cousins joined us. You know, they're not going to leave my grandpa out. But mainly it was just me and my grandpa, and it was really just a good time. My grandpa always had the right words to say, and I will remember him forever.